All right, here we go. Recap pod. It is week 3 in the books. Nebraska improves to 2-1 on the season. They take down Buffalo 28-3. Bo Robert Ruud is in the hizzy. Nicholas Allen Bahe is also in the hizzy. Lots to dive into with this game. First of all, you went to the game, correct?
Yes.
I didn't know if the heat scared you off because they were doing, they did the whole like on the field feels like. I almost thought there's no way. BTN was trying to say on the field it felt like 131 degrees.
That seems like a lot.
Seems like,
but the big thing with being on that field though is it's the little rubber pellets. That's the big. Once they went to the new field turf, those things make it like it just like the heat.
It makes it hotter.
It radiates off those rubber.
Okay.
Yeah. So I always felt like when you're on the field turf versus grass seems like it's like. We're on ice today, folks. But when you're on the field turf, it is just a little bit hotter.
What was the hottest game you played in? Is there one that
I don't know?
There wasn't anyone that was like
they were
specifically like crazy.
They always felt hot in the first 2 weeks.
Well, so how hot was it? I mean, was it like Jim Carrey inside the Rhino of Ace Ventura 2?
Not quite. No, like not that hot. Not hot as those rhinos.
Kind of warm in these rhinos.
It wasn't quite that hot. I think everybody was really worried about the heat. I think everyone was like, should we go this game because it's going to be a hot one? And you got out there and it was like,
was it not that bad?
No.
I was anticipating like just
tailgating was great. It felt pretty good because the breeze was there.
Yeah.
When you kind of got cut off from the breeze, it was a little bit just like sticky. But
so okay, that's good. I mean, I thought it was like unbearable.
No, they were acting like people were going to be like dropping like flies out there.
Bring a water bottle and all that stuff.
When they let you bring a water.
Yeah,
that means they're scared.
That's telling you something,
but
it
wasn't so bad.
So you didn't see anybody getting carried off by the American Red Cross or anything like that?
No, that's usually what happens, but it didn't. I don't know. It didn't seem that bad.
I just didn't know if it was like Ace Ventura inside that rhino or not.
No, not rhino hot.
They did a good job of making it seem like Jim Carrey was hot inside that thing.
Yeah, I mean,
that was ridiculous. What a scene!
He had to get out of there.
He had to get out of there. Okay. So here's my plan. You and I have not even discussed a game plan. We're going into this thing, which I like. I actually usually sometimes I like to have a pregame meeting with you. Sometimes I like to just surprise you.
We don't talk after the game, but before the pod, we usually have like a 20-minute, like, oh man, like kind of get an idea. We didn't even do that today.
No. So here's kind of, I want to just go through all 3 phases, discuss, dissect, but I want to start with, and I wrote down like concerns through 3 games, things I'm confident in through 3 games, then a quick peek to next week. That's kind of like, the itinerary for the day here. But I want to start with this. So Nebraska beats Buffalo 28-3. And I think you have to always take a snapshot of how you were feeling heading into the game.
Yeah.
I was nervous for this game. I thought the 14-point spread seemed crazy to me. Now I thought Nebraska would win, but I thought this thing was going to go right down to the 4th quarter and be a close game. So all things considered, I walked away from that game pretty pleased with what I saw from Nebraska because that game should have been 45-3, 48-3.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that in a little bit, but I was just a little surprised. And sometimes, I don't know, like some of the angst from people after the game that I talked to or listening to Big Red Overreaction, some of the calls, seeming like they were still a little like, it's still not good. It's still like, and I'm not saying they're a great team, but I guess just overall, like when you stood up and exited the Rhino that was Memorial Stadium, how did you feel?
I felt good. I mean, I felt fine. It was a good win. I think it's, getting 2 wins in a row rewind the clock 2 weeks ago after Illinois, it was doomsday. We were using the word doomsday.
People writing the obituaries for Frost, like this thing's over.
Obituaries, doomsday. Those were the words we were using. 2 wins, some good plays,
right?
Some big explosive plays, stingy defense, things like that have calmed Husker Nation down a little bit, have put us in a better place, and I think that was much, much needed. I left the stadium feeling pretty dang good.
Okay. So the story of the game to me was the defense. Like Really good performance. So they hold Buffalo to 3 points. They had 1 interception that set up a touchdown. They had 6 tackles for loss. They were really, really disruptive. Let me give you a few nuggets to chew on with this defense before we kind of dive into this game and what we're seeing. So Husk guys on Twitter tweeted this out. So Buffalo had averaged 275 yards rushing per game over their last 10 games. Nebraska held them to 135 yards rushing, forced them to have to kind of throw the ball a bunch. The Blackshirts haven't given up a touchdown in 6 quarters now. There's a BTN stat that they kind of flashed on the on TV where this one's kind of like wordy, but you'll like it. This was the 7th game in a row now that Nebraska has held the opposition to under 400 yards of total offense. That is, there are only 2 streaks in the last 10, 12 years that are longer. There was an 8-game streak from 2009 to 2010, where the final 2 games of the 2009 season and the first 6 of 2010, where they held their opponents to under 400 yards. And then there was a 14-game streak, 2008 to 2009. Last 3 games, 2008, and then the first 11 opponents of 2009. So this 7-game streak that they're on here started after Illinois last year. So Iowa, Purdue, Minnesota, Rutgers last year, and then Illinois, Fordham, and Buffalo this year, where they have held teams to under 400 yards. Yeah. And now, last nugget to chew on, Nebraska has now held back-to-back opponents to a touchdown and a field goal for the first time since 2003.
Whoa.
So I want to start there, framing like, I don't think this is like the 2009 defense by any stretch of the imagination, but they've put together a 7-game run here that's pretty good. And really the last 2 games, particularly the last 6 quarters, has been pretty good. And for sure, yesterday against Buffalo, really good. When you were watching yesterday, what was the biggest prevailing thing that stood out to you with what the Blackshirts did?
I think we tackle pretty good right now.
Yeah.
To me, just the simple fact of like, we're not always perfect where like somebody doesn't slip through and, there's a hole and they gash us for 7 or 8, but we make the tackle, right?
Yep.
I think we had 1 big miss that led to like a 30 or 40 yard run. But that's it. On the game, you said 135 rushing, right? Against a team that really, really, really tried to run the ball a lot. Pretty good running back. We tackled though. Like they would get through and we tackle. And that's the thing that I think our linebackers and our defensive backs have done a pretty good job of. Is just get the guy down. Like when they get through and get 8 or 10, you tackle them. And if you don't miss those,
it's hard to, you're right.
It's it's like, they might get 100 yards, but they'll never, get those extra, like game busting, back breaking plays that I think really then you lose all your momentum with defense. It keeps you in it as a defense to just tackle well.
Right.
Scheme aside, talent aside, if you tackle well, good things happen. I think we've tackled pretty well.
That's interesting. Of all the things, this is why you're the perfect at it. Like I wouldn't have when you saying that, it's like, well, duh. Yeah, they did tackle well.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's not always the case with defenses. Like, they get leaky yards and then you start pressing, I think. And so when you tackle well, I think good things happen for your defense. Isn't
it funny how a lot of football, there's 22 guys on the field. There's all these elaborate schemes that take place on rules and this and that. But oftentimes the game a play comes down to, here is Luke Reimer. Here is the running back.
Yeah.
Can you tackle like a one-on-one situation where you got to make the play?
Yeah.
And more often than not, especially in the back 7 right now, those guys are really tackling well.
They're coming up. I mean, I like their secondary. They've gotten. I'm just remembering back when we were, I think under the Riley, like we weren't coming up and we weren't coming up and tackling.
Pardon my French.
Speak French. Speak it freely.
They were pussies.
They were pussies. But yeah, I think we are tackling better, and our linebackers are doing. I thought our linebackers looked good.
That's where I want to take the conversation. We'll talk specifically about Luke Reimer, but like in my opinion, what we're seeing is the linebacking core played their ass off yesterday. From Reimer to Henrich, to Garrett Nelson, to JoJo Doman, to Klarvik's come in and made some plays. Those guys in particular, to me, that's the best I think a linebacking core has played in a while at Nebraska. And I mean, listen, he's your brother and he's one of my best friends, but like Barrett clearly is doing a good job with those dudes because those guys are balling.
He's done a good job for sure. But I also think like I'm going to single out like Nick Henrich. I think Nick Henrich is a kid that is he's just a good football. I mean, he's a good player. And I watch him out there. And so I think Reimer's got more speed. He's a kind of more of a playmaker, but Henrich is solid. So Henrich has been a really nice, steady addition this year because he didn't really play last year that much. He played on the edge a little bit. He was kind of just utility guy.
He's banged up too. He got hurt in the spring maybe, and it kind of set him back.
Yeah, and he was hurt his whole freshman year, but he's a good player. So he's like him, and then Reimer obviously is like Reimer's got like the speed and explosion, and he's a playmaker. So I think in Reimer I think he missed one tackle but other than that, like Reimer's been solid too. I mean, really,
I figured you would appreciate it because I remember you did this, I think, against Iowa State, or there was one game you timed up. Henrich in the second half figured out the snap count.
I know. I love it. Nick, that's what football players do. Like the better you like the good football players, it's the little things, right? It's the angles you take, it's the way you anticipate your movement and like timing a blitz. Like
he just went for it
because he knows
felt like he had it.
He does because it's an instinct thing, right? Guys that don't have instincts can't make that attempt.
Right.
Good players can't. I think that's a good.
He was so. He timed it up so good. He almost overran. Like he got in there and was like, "Who has?" Like he overshot it to the point where he didn't even know who had the ball necessarily.
It's disruptive.
And that was because that was a play that Reimer almost got another interception. It might have been after. So I think it went Reimer interception, then Gabe Ervin 2-yard touchdown run. Then the very next play, Henrich timed it up.
Yeah.
And they almost had another interception. But I figured you were the first person I thought of. I'm like,
I love
that. That was your favorite play.
I love stuff like that's the stuff about football that I really absolutely love.
Well, I just thought yesterday, guys made, not only being sure tacklers, guys made timely big plays. Like big third down. Here comes Garrett Nelson down the edge. Tackle for loss. Darian Daniels snacks.
He was hungry.
He had a snack. Snack.
Reese's Pieces in the backfield. Get it.
Get the Skittles there. Snacks. And then Reimer on fourth down made a hell of a play on that.
That was great. But see, that's the stuff where I think when we talk about talent and recruiting, like. You can be on your assignment that play and try to do your job. If you're not as fast as Luke Reimer is, that guy gets the first down.
Right.
Because you have to have
identify
a gear.
And go.
That's a back into the flat, no help. You're crossing the field. At some point, you just have to have talent to make the play there.
Right.
And that's where you got to be well coached. You got to be disciplined. And your talent makes the play behind the line, though.
Right.
He has the talent.
Oh, because you see your brother? Have you seen the TV reaction? Your brother.
He was on the field.
Your brother is usually very mild mannered. Yes. Like that was by far the most animated I've seen him as a coach. He needs to work. I mean, he was on the field hopping.
Oh yeah. That's me.
He was excited. Pumped after that play. But I mean, what is it that because we're talking about it's instincts, it's talent, but like what else? Because to me, that's the strength. I thought the strength of this defense was going to be the secondary. So far, I think the strength has been the guys. I think it's Reimer, Henrich, Nelson, JoJo. To me, have been awesome.
Yeah, I think they've.
What are you seeing? Like what from a guy that was an all Big 12 linebacker? Like what?
I think they play hard. They're solid. I think they're disciplined guys right now. I'm also like I was expecting the secondary to be head and shoulders our strength. And I think they've been sort of like they've had flashes and they've been like there's been a few moments where like we gave up a couple of third and longs yesterday where we want them to be perfect. That's not maybe reasonable, but I still think the secondary's going to hit their stride. I think the defensive line still hasn't quite hit their stride. But I think they'll get Casey Nelson back, or Casey Rogers. Casey Rogers back. And I think that will help and just keeping those guys fresh. But yeah, I think they're all doing pretty well right now, but I think we have a next level up we can get to.
Well, and we'll get to this guy in a little bit because even Frost brought him up kind of like unsolicited in the press conference. Like when we talk about the secondary maybe not looking great, I think a lot of his Cam Taylor-Britt has not played well. I mean, even like the play, they convert a third down on a comeback route with the end zone in their shadow, and Cam goes for an intercept, tries to run through the pass, goes for an interception where he wasn't ever going to get that ball, and that's when the guy caught the ball behind. He wasn't going to. You got to come up and get make the tackle. Yeah. I just don't think he's played well, and I think
he's probably because he's like we've been talking about. He's probably our best player.
Yes,
and he really hasn't. The plays haven't come to him, and he hasn't made the opportunities he's had.
They've kind of gotten third, like you talk about giving up third down conversions. It's kind of been on Cam quite a bit.
Yeah, I think he's had 3 or 4 the last couple weeks. But I still trust Cam.
So do I.
And I trust that over time, as long as he stays on his game, those plays will come to him. I don't know if it's one of those this is my year. Maybe he's pressing, but I think if he just plays his game normal, like he always has, good things will happen. I just think the first 3 weeks have not fallen his way.
I think for something that I just as psychoanalyzing from my couch with Cam, I think when you think about, first of all, his struggles at punt return have spilled into other parts of his game, which that's kind of how life works. I mean, that can happen where you're having issues with your girlfriend, it spills into other areas of your life. Am I right or am I right?
Nick, are you trying to tell me that you're struggling on this podcast?
I'm struggling.
You got it. What happened last night, Nick?
Tell me.
Did she yell at you?
She yelled at me. But
we'll get through this.
We'll do this together. Okay? By the end of this thing, we'll have this all figured out. She just doesn't.
She's yelling at you, isn't she? She's yelling at you.
Cam seems like he wants to wants to win the game. He's trying too hard to make a huge play every play.
Yeah, but
so instead of 3rd and 7, just we're trying to get off the field. He's pick 6. It's punt return. Ball's going over. No. I'm fielding this thing and I'm housing it. It's he needs to listen to Yacht Rock and just calm down.
Just listen to Michael McDonald and everything will calm down. You go to Yacht Rock.
He came from somewhere back in her long ago. I mean, he needs to listen to Steely Dan. He needs to listen to Michael McDonald, the Doobie Brothers.
Just go to Yacht Rock.
Sailing.
Just smooth and easy.
That would be what I would do.
Yes,
I would go
as
to
a coach. As a coach. Cam.
Here's a CD, Yacht Rock. Go into your room, light a candle, and just listen to it and calm down, bro.
Yeah. I think
you feel me? Is Yacht Rock what needs to happen?
Yacht Rock is not a bad suggestion because he's pressing. If he doesn't drop that punt the first game, right?
I think that set the tone in a lot of ways.
Because then now, I really believe then the other punt returns, he's thinking about, he goes, I got to just catch this punt.
Right.
And not let it, then something, it bounces and it messes up. So then the next time he's just catch it instead of thinking the right move was you got to yell Peter. Yes. But he's thinking I got to catch this punt.
Right.
Because he's so worried about the last play.
And it's here.
I understand it because we all would be thinking that.
Right. But he thinks he's got to I got to make up for, in some ways he's I got to make up for the Illinois game. It's
and then
Steely Dan.
Steely, just Yacht Rocket. Smooth and steady.
But you're right that I just think everything is compounding and he's just
trying to make the pick where making the tackles right play is because you might be I think there's a degree you're pressing.
Right. So is he listening to White Snake, Here I Go Again before the game? Is he listening to like?
I tell you what, I would
stuff
bet my
before the
life
game?
he's not listening to White Snake. What was it? I don't even know. This is where I'm a little out of touch with
the most popular rappers in the game.
Yeah, everybody talks about the baby.
The baby was. I mean, there's way too many babies going on. First of all, there's
more than one baby.
Well, there's multiple. Well, first of all, baby of Cash Money Records with Lil Wayne and the Big Timers. There's baby. You know that stunting like my daddy. I be stunting like that's baby.
That's a guy. Oh, I didn't know baby.
He's baby. Then there's Da Baby, and then there's also Lil Baby. Like at this point, we need to have like someone needs to come out and we need to cap. We've just no more babies in hip hop for
got baby
a decade.
And Lil Baby. Da Baby.
We got baby, Da Baby, and Lil Baby.
That's 3 babies.
It's way too many babies.
I mean,
so is your guess that Cam Taylor-Britt's listening to one of the 3 babies?
I would put. Yeah, that's what I'd bet on.
But he needs some yacht
babies.
rock. He needs some yacht rock. Just calm down.
Yes,
that's what he needs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Michael McDonald.
Yes, that's what he needs, right? He needs some taking it to the streets in his life, doesn't he?
That would just set everything right.
By the way, on the 4th of July, when I was with you and your brother, I was trying to my phone was messing up. I was trying to inundate us with a bunch of Michael McDonald taking it to the streets, and we were on the lake, and I was frustrated with my phone that day, by the way.
That's right.
We were trying to get our yacht rock game right. Okay. I mean, we were talking about the defense and went bananas here, but no, because we were talking about the linebackers playing well. We thought it would be the secondary, but I think a lot of that is when your top dog isn't playing great.
Yeah,
that's going to affect how. I mean, because Deontay Williams has played well. Dismuke's done fine. Yeah. Those guys have made plays. It's just Cam's not.
Yeah, and Newsome was getting most of let's give Cam credit. Most of the time they don't throw at Cam. They throw at Newsome.
We act like Cam's getting shred.
No,
he's not getting
Cam's
shred,
doing fine. Cam's doing fine. He's just hasn't been as good as we were ready for him to be, and he can be. To be our best player. We know the level is probably a notch up from where he's at, but he'll get there. All he's got to do is play his game, right? So I still think he's our best player in the secondary. Newsome is probably going to see the most balls thrown at him this year. So, and I think Newsome is starting to find his feet, and he's been tackling well too. Yeah. I think he's done a good job.
And Dismuke and Deontay Williams come downhill and
they'll hit,
knock your head off, which is great. Let's go to Reimer for a second though, because we talked about the unbelievable 4th down play, but the guy has 16 total tackles yesterday. He has the interception, which was an amazing play. That's not an easy to bat a ball and then catch it. And then he made a pretty good run. It was actually an amazing spot by the official that they saw in real time to see that he did step out, and that sets up a touchdown. And in all reality, the game, even though I felt like Nebraska was in control, that play probably sealed the game.
That was it. That clinched it for sure.
But Reimer, it's amazing. What was it about him that he was a walk-on? It's amazing. He
transferred from a small school in Kansas.
Right.
Went to Lincoln North Star. And I think he was good. He's not a huge guy. He's 6'1", and in high school he's probably a $185. He could definitely run, but he was just a little bit under the radar, right? He's a guy that he's at North Star. I don't know how good North Star was then, but I don't think they were that good. They've never been that good.
It's just amazing to think about
Nick, and he was going to go to South Dakota State,
right?
Change of heart. His family's a bunch of people from Nebraska and they're Husker fans. And that was a big part of it. And I think, he was a Nebraska fan and said, this is where I want to do it. And my brother called me a couple days into camp.
Right.
Not even
his freshman year.
Yeah. I'm not even 3 days into camp. And he goes, I'm not so sure this guy's not our best linebacker. Immediately.
Right.
It wasn't even it was he started making plays immediately. And that's rare for a freshman. I'm talking a 5-star best recruit in the country. If you're the guy that jumps off the screen immediately, that's really hard to do as a freshman linebacker. Usually not strong enough, fast enough, smart enough. And this guy comes in as a walk-on and everybody's eyes open.
Well, think of his 2 plays. I mean, the fourth down play was an amazing play. And then the pick is an amazing play. That's kind of, both those plays are a little bit like, you either got it or you don't.
You have to have it. Those are big
Those
time
are
plays.
Plays.
Yeah.
But man, I just thought I thought they were disruptive. As you pointed out, they tackled well. I thought they made timely big plays, whether it was Snacks, Nelson, Henrich, Doman. They went for it on fourth down, and Doman strung out the quarterback and then went and got him really well in the second half. But it's just, I said it before the season in our little season preview that I was a little higher on this team than maybe some other people were. And the biggest reason why was the defense.
Yeah.
And the last game and a half in particular is kind of what I was seeing. Like, I just think that side of the ball, you've seen improvement, you've seen growth, you've seen player development, like that. You are seeing it on that side.
Yeah, I think if we could find a pass rush, legitimate pass rush, and then just guys like JoJo and Reimer and Cam and Deontay, if those guys just play their game, they'll start really flashing as the year goes on. So I think if we can just keep it together and keep building, good things can really happen with this defense, because we have 3 or 4 guys that are good players.
Right.
Everybody else just needs to do their jobs.
Right. But yeah, because I think there was no sacks yesterday, which is obviously frustrating. But at the same time,
they were trying to run.
They were really trying to run the ball, and they scored 3 points. That's and really, other than they got into the red zone, and then they had a personal foul that backed them up out of and then they missed a long field goal, I think. But other than that, they maybe got in the red zone late, but they really didn't even. I mean, Nebraska kept them at bay and controlled them for the majority of that game.
In the first half, one of my big takeaways, just in general, was I thought Buffalo got some untimely calls, and they kind of shot themselves in the foot a few different times. Where I'm so used to that being Nebraska. I watched Buffalo do it they got this they got a penalty that moved them back. They got
which I can't remember what that was. It was it was they ran like a jet sweep, and Nebraska blew it up. I can't remember what the penalty was.
They had like a illegal receiver downfield one, or
illegal
formation.
They had the coach,
sideline.
The coach had a sideline warning.
And they had a couple bad they had a face mask penalty. Like, they had a couple bad, it was those timely penalties man, those really, that's how you lose games. I thought they really had about 3 or 4 of those that they cost themselves a chance to win. By making
but at the same
plays.
time, and we'll get into this as we go into the offense, Nebraska found, I mean, they had, it's one thing to have a play here or there go against your way. Nebraska had touchdowns called back because of some crappy calls that we'll get into. But are we good with the defense? You want to go to the offense?
Let's move on.
But shouts out to the Blackshirts. I mean, they were really, very good yesterday. And those linebackers, man, you guys are balling. But with the offense, let's preface everything with this. Something you got to keep in mind. This offense is already thin at weapons. You open up the chest of weapons, and there's already no, there was not. There's a grenade that looks like it's from 1997. That's not.
Can we order a Torre? Can we order one of those Torres from Montana?
Hey, did we order more than one Torre? We
gotta get 3 of those Torres, huh?
No. But the problem is, you open that chest right now, and Oliver Martin is out. Omar Manning is out. Austin Allen caught 1 ball, and then I think it hurt his ankle. He was out. Xavier Betts, famous Dave, ribs got hit or something like that, so he was out. And then Vokalek has been out. It's something you forget about him, but so for a group that is already thin, again, you open that chest and bats fly out of it. I mean, there's just nothing in there. You are down. What is that? 5 of your
6,
5 of your biggest weapons. So I think we need to start with the understanding that how you assess everything offensively needs to be I'm not trying to make excuses, but these are realities. I'm not saying that, Martin, Manning, Allen, Betts are I don't think they're all Big Ten, all conference studs, but they need those guys out there. Yeah. Martin had 100 yards in the first game. Manning's a beast. Austin Allen's the best pass catching tight end. Xavier Betts has shown. I mean, they did the little pop pass again, and he got around the corner. Like, dude looks the part. And then Vokalek is solid. Well,
and I think the play to me more than Betts' sweep that really kind of solidifies what everybody's been looking for. They just threw it down the field. It was a little underthrown, and he tips it, catches it. It was a great play.
Unbelievable play.
The hold takes the touchdown back, but Betts' ability to just he can go deep.
Right.
He can go get the ball. That is something that we are so desperate for. He's the guy that can do it. So I hope he's fine. I think he'll be okay.
I hope so too. I don't know. I'm not totally sure what I thought. Again, I thought they said it's someone's
He's
ribs.
A skinny guy though.
Yeah.
Usually the skinny guys, when you hit them hard, they're like, dang, man.
But we talked about defense winning one-on-one. I mean, offense, it's the same thing, just reversed. And Betts is one of the few guys on the team that you kind of feel like can win in a one-on-one scenario, whether it's a catch, outrunning a guy, and you need those dudes. And they don't have a lot of those guys right now.
He's a vertical threat.
Yes.
He is a guy that you have to have somebody that's willing to back up for him.
But I think it's important to frame everything that you saw offensively through those lenses to begin with. And then the other part of yesterday's offensive performance was we got the 3 touchdowns wiped off the board because of penalties. One, we talked about the Betts one, looked like a legitimate hold. I mean,
that was a hold to me.
He kind of put him in the,
Yeah, when he's on past you and you still got the hand there, it's man.
It was probably not good, but so that's taken off the board, legitimate. But the other 2, give me a break. The offensive pass interference on the wheel route to Teray was
I still haven't seen it. They didn't show a replay in the stadium, and I didn't get a chance to watch it yet.
Bad.
Who was it called on?
I think it was on Hickman. It was either on Hickman or Falk or Lever, one of the two. They ran 2 guys, so there was just it was twins out split towards the Nebraska sideline, and they kind of just ran. It was just a double slant wheel.
Yeah.
And it was bad. I thought it was a horrible call.
That's 2 weeks in a row of that.
Yes. I mean, which is frustrating, but I thought that was a bad call, but that wipes 6 off the board. Yeah. And then at the end of the game, you have the illegal forward. I'm not sure if you had exited the Rhino at this point. I figured you had.
I saw that one.
But then you have the illegal forward pass from Smothers to
I went back and watched that on the TV copy and rewound it. And in the history of Nebraska football, who ran option for 3 decades ish.
How many times have you seen that call?
Never called. We've done that pitch 1,000 times.
Right.
It's it's so bad. That's
so
bad.
Frustrating.
That's such a bad. It's such a bad call on so many levels. I don't know.
It's so frustrating. Who scored the touchdown? Will Nixon. That's so that's BS, But the thing why that's a big play. Well, there are a couple things with that whole scenario that I kind of liked. And Frost said it after the game. They were going to run out the clock until Buffalo called timeout, and then Frost is like, "Okay,
yeah,
F you." Here's Smothers on a play action. We're throwing it down to Hickman, and then we're going to run an option and score. Yeah. I kind of like that in some ways. But here's why that the crappy call and taking the touchdown off the board, think of the butterfly effect of that play.
Yes, always.
So you take a touchdown off the board, which then forces Connor Culp to come out and kick another field goal, and he misses, which homeboy was already if Connor Culp was going home, he was at the bus station and a car drove by and water went all over Connor Culp, and he was like, that was Connor Culp.
That's great.
That was that moment to him. He had a horrible day, just water off the curb, crushing him, and he was like, Rikey.
I mean, Connor Culp, I've seen enough sports movies in my life that he's the guy right now where they have to have a team intervention and be like, what can we do to stop? He's the guy in a golf movie that has the shanks.
Yes.
He's the pitcher in Major League 2.
Yeah.
Or the pitcher in the catcher in Major League 2 that can't throw it to second base. He can't kick right now.
And this guy was the 2020 Big Ten Kicker of the Year.
Yeah.
So it's not like this guy has just showed up and he's you're hoping he can kick. He showed last year he was a pretty good kicker. Now, I never thought he was Alex Henry Chris Brown. Like, I never thought he was one of those guys, but he was the bottom line, he was an all-conference kicker. And this dude he goes 0 for 3 field goals yesterday. He already missed 2 extra points.
And didn't he miss another field goal too?
I thought it was just 0 for 3, but maybe
another field goal. And I think
did he miss it at Illinois
games, maybe against Illinois.
I can't. All I know,
I thought he missed one other field
5
goal
or 6 kicks in 3 games. And so, but back to that's why that touchdown is extra frustrating, because the touchdown getting wiped off is extra frustrating, because now you go Connor Culp to the bus station and the car soaks him.
So he had a ride.
He had a ride home.
And then because we didn't score.
He had a tough day, and that made it even worse.
He goes, sorry, you're going to have to take the bus. And he's at the bus stop, and he gets splattered.
But that's right.
Connor
Culp at a bus station just got doused yesterday.
So
but, and then even a little thing like, now obviously Nixon knows he scored, but like Will Nixon, you never know, might be a guy that needs to help you at some point. He gets some confidence. Like, it's just so many things frustrating with that. But nevertheless, 3 touchdowns wiped off the board with penalties. 2 of them I thought were bad calls. 1 of them was legit. It's crazy how Nebraska just always finds themselves like doing stuff like that. But I don't know what to say.
So
I'm
bigger than just Nebraska. I think I have an issue with refs right now.
Oh,
in general.
Give it to me.
I was watching the Penn State-Wisconsin game, and they're blowing their whistles and determining the outcomes of games too much.
Right.
Like, they're making these huge calls that are terrible at huge moments in the game way too often. Like, things that are just there's no need for them. Like these terrible targeting calls because they think somebody got hit hard.
Right.
They don't even stop and just like let the game be played. And that it's a minute to go in the game. You're going to call a forward pass and an option.
Like, what are you doing? Just give him the touchdown.
Just swallow your whistle. Like, there's going to be moments where you got to swallow your whistle in games. And it's the big moments. The bigger the moment, swallow your whistle.
Or the smaller the moment, swallow your whistle.
Yeah, the big in between, call it.
Right.
Just call what you think.
That was just one of those plays. Like, and they even reviewed it.
Yeah.
Like,
don't
even on the review, like, if you want to get technical with like it still was like, even reviewing it.
It was close to being down the line, but where he pitched it, the guy was, when the guy's at
that's what I don't
like. Right. He was back into his left, and it was like a down the line pitch. But like when you see an option, the guy's actually at a nice like 5x5 behind you, like they're running a correct option. So like, don't give me this like he was just this past the line. And it could have been like you don't do that every option. Like swallow your whistle.
Frustrating. It's embarrassing that I wanted to start with the defense because I wanted to start positive. But it's embarrassing that we're about 37 minutes into this thing and we've not talked about Adrian Martinez, because let's talk about this guy.
Yes.
This dude is balling. His 71-yard run was as good of an individual play as I've seen from an offensive player. I mean, you're going, I think Dirk wrote about it. Like, you're going like Amir Abdullah, McNeese State. You're going like,
nobody's made a play like that, dude. Nobody's made that play. Nobody's made a play where they just, against all odds, they beat a bunch of dudes and just make it happen.
I mean, it was an incredible, I yelled so loud that I scared my 5-year-old, and then my 1-year-old started crying.
That's good.
But think about how often in sport we've watched a million games, a million plays. How many plays truthfully make you scream like that?
I mean, it was awesome, dude.
That was unbelievable.
Awesome play.
So he all of a sudden the last 2 games has started to kind of, he's got a confidence about him. He's playing well. He's got the 71-yard touchdown run, or the 71-yard run that gets down inside the 5 that sets up a touchdown. The 2 touchdown throws to Toure were great balls.
Yep.
So I mean, he has 9 carries, 112 yards yesterday. He was 13 of 19 with 242 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's had now 2 straight games, 0 turnovers. 0 turnovers. And and again, keep in mind what we said at the start, that box of weapons, you're not a lot of guys there. So he's having to do all this with not a lot of weapons and not a lot of help from the running backs, which I'll get to in a second. But like, you and I have never, I mean, we're Brokeback Mountain. I wish I knew how to quit you, Adrian.
Never quit Adrian, though.
We've never really quit on that guy.
We've been frustrated, but like some people have truly thrown the towel on him the last couple of years. We've always seen like he's not to where we think he can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but we know that this dude, he's got some ability. He's got some natural ability. I just think right now, physically, he looks as good as I've ever seen him. He just cutting the weight. He's moving so much better that he's actually escaping that extra, that last guy that he wasn't getting away from the last 2 years. He's getting away from now, which makes a difference. A few good throws down the field that'll build some confidence. Really, it's just a few of the touch passes that we can't quite get. He's got to find those, and then it's like firing on all cylinders.
Right.
So I think for me, it's the touch. He fires high, he fires long. If he could just get the ball a little lower and a little softer, sometimes the sky's the limit this year. It really is, because he physically right now looks great.
The way he's running.
He's
really running the ball well. I mean, really running it well. And him and we said it last week, him and Teray just continue to have a great connection. But man, he was really good yesterday. Yeah. And it's the last two games have kind of shown why the people that won't give up on him, why you can't quit. I wish you not to quit you, Adrian.
Can't quit you.
But when he makes those kind of plays, it's just incredible. The other thing we got to talk about, I mean, Teray, where would this offense be without Samori Teray?
We'd be in big trouble.
Oh, man. So he has 2 catches, 136 yards, both 68-yard touchdowns. He's had back-to-back 100-yard receiving games. I mean, where this Adrian's the MVP of the offense, but like you take Teray out of the equation. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, see, the thing we got to have in this offense is we got to have a little bit more balance in the sense of like, I felt like at times they were just going to take away the run, and they were I just saw too many times where it looked like they were manned up on us, and I was like, man, you got to fire at these dudes when they're doing this. And Teray is a guy that is going to help us take the pressure off the run game, take the pressure off Adrian a little bit. We need somebody else to balance that out even more, but we got to find balance so it's not all on Adrian's shoulders to either all throw or all run himself.
Right. Well, but that's the reality situation is that's kind of what it is right now. Like
it's a lot though, man.
It's a lot to ask of that dude. And because still a major concern is the running back run game and the ability to run between the tackles is still very problematic. Like Nebraska yesterday, and to their credit, they really tried to run the ball yesterday. They were really committed to trying to run it. But the running backs had 31 carries between the group of them, 106 yards, 3.4 yards per carry. But John Bishop went a little deeper into the run game stats, and he tweeted, so Nebraska's running backs had 21 runs, went for 3 yards or less.
Wow. And
only 3 went for 8 yards or more.
Yeah, that's not good.
So you're not getting a lot. Now, I will say I'm glad I rewatched the game because I did think in the second half, Gabe Ervin started to show you a little. I still don't think he's elite, but he had 51 yards rushing in the second half.
Remember we talked about, I think in the last pod, was like, nobody's had a worse sort of opportunity than Gabe Ervin. Yeah. Just the sense of like every time he got a carry, like there was nothing. Right. And he finally showed what he could do if he had some openings. Looked pretty good. I liked the look of him. My concern, which was like, I felt like more at the running backs, is I actually now am more concerned about the offensive line. Like my concern is shifted there because I'm just not seeing definitive push. Even the pockets against Fordham and Buffalo, I'm like, ooh, we're not really holding our pockets. It just feels like there's some issues with some of that. Just holding blocks.
Completely agree. I think as much as I don't think the running back stable is a bunch of overly talented guys, a lot of the concern goes back to the offensive line. Is if you're writing down, and we'll get down to concerns for 3 games, I'm not so sure the offensive line isn't number 1.
That's where it's like, that's where it's moving to me, where I would have said running back.
Yeah.
It's now almost more like, until the offensive line is shored up, you can't even see what these running backs can do. Really,
right. I mean, it's 3 games now against arguably, I mean,
the 3 worst teams we're going to play.
It's the 3 worst teams on your schedule, and you could 2 of which were non-power 5. Now Buffalo's a good group of 5. One was an FCS. You couldn't line up and just blow their ass off the ball. And again, when you get into the Big Ten, which is a trenches conference, if you can't win relatively consistently and get a push up front and hand the ball off to your running backs and run in between the tackles, you're in trouble. And that's still the thing that, as much as I'm high on the defense and all this stuff, like all the concerns go back to that to me.
Yeah. And you know what I think it's really hurt? I mean, Allen's been out there except for basically all this game, but no Vokalek, I think, really hurts.
Because he's the best blocking tight end?
Yeah, he's the best blocking tight end. And I think they asked these edges, these guys blocking on the edges, so the tight ends and the receivers coming, like, Hickman had a bunch of those. They have these guys coming across and having like the backside sort of cut off or wrap around block. Those, I feel like I've watched a lot of those where they miss there and the guy flies, like where the cutback is. Yep. I think we've had trouble there too. So I don't want to say it's offensive line only. I think it's offensive line, and the sort of edge blocking has just not been there for these backs.
Because the one thing that has kind of been there, can you piece together some semblance of a rushing attack centered around 2 things: running Adrian and running the option?
I mean, I think the option has been good so far.
But I agree. I mean, I think it's, if we're charting just like good play, bad play, success, non-success of their running plays, the option has been by far their most successful running play.
Yep.
Explain to me why you can't. Now, I'm not saying they necessarily, I don't know if you can go all full-fledged Army, Navy, because they're not, I mean, I'm not saying you have to run the option over and over and over, but like, can you run 15 to 20 options?
Then you're an option team. I mean,
can you? I mean, I just don't.
Nick, that's a lot on Adrian. It's a lot of pitches, and it's a lot of
high risk.
It's a high risk. I think for Adrian, that's a lot.
So what's a good number?
And
maybe that's a bad way to frame the question. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out, like,
I wouldn't think of it as like you have to run this number of options. I think if you got the matchups, you run as many as you want. But if that's all you're doing, Nick, and then they're going to adjust to that's all you're doing, then you had Adrian running into a defense setup to play the option every play.
Off on him.
I don't think you think of it like that. I think when you surprise them with the option a few times a game, it's been really good.
I think
keep doing that.
Yeah, I think they need to continue. The one thing that has been decent so far is it doesn't seem like there's a hesitation to call running plays for Adrian either. Now, he also is, a 75-yard touchdown run against Illinois was a pass play and he scrambled. The 71-yard play was a scramble out of a pass situation. But to me, the offense is at its best when he's running. He's your best runner.
I think it's at his best when he's scrambling.
Right.
Like, so I think actually less like we got to run Adrian on a power. I actually don't know that I want that.
Okay. Well, can you call pass plays with the understanding that you're basically like, I don't know if people think like this.
Fly. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, maybe I'm, this is like Madden couch sitting.
It's a little bit of that, but I think, Nick, I don't think that that's necessarily.
Sometimes on like 3rd and short, or even just in general, like I catch myself, and I think my brother rolls his eyes. I'm like, shotgun 4 wide, 9 routes, and let Adrian find a seam.
Yeah, but here's where if you're a defensive coordinator and you're playing us, right, you probably then put a spy on him.
But I think Adrian can win that. Like,
Maybe. I think if you do it right, like the teams, like I want to say Illinois did a good job of keeping him in the pocket, right? So that when the rush lanes are good, they're not going way up the field and running around.
Right.
They're not creating those big gaps and seams. They were just trying to really compress him, keep him in the pocket. I mean, that's a great tactic as a defense. Is like you really hammer the rush lanes and not, sometimes if they got an immobile quarterback, they'll just say, dude, just go run the edge, spin inside, do whatever, like get to the quarterback.
With Adrian, you probably do want to be careful with that.
Adrian, I think you almost say, force him to stay in the pocket and make throws. I would probably lean towards like try to collapse the pocket and see if he makes a mistake. That's my personal. I wouldn't let him scramble.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of. I'm spitballing here on like how you can find, because you gotta have some semblance of a rushing attack. I'm not saying you just bail on the running back run game, but I just have a hard time feeling like Nebraska's going to be able to line up and have a ton of success handing the ball off to running backs and running off tackle.
Nick, we can't run this offense if we don't try, though. Like we have to keep people honest with handing the ball off to our running backs. So I actually like the fact that we kind of stuck with the run, even though because as the game went on, it got a little bit better. I thought, but like we got to be able to do it. Like I think we have to kind of commit to like we have to do that so Adrian doesn't have to run it. Remember last year we just started running quarterback power all the time. It's like you just can't do that. We're gonna fumble. It's too much of a pounding than to ask this guy to like sit back there and throw it all the time.
I'd just be curious to see what the offense looks like moving forward with trying to piece together all this stuff of like, you got one legitimate receiver that's proven right now that's healthy, that can make plays. You have a stable of running backs that are okay. You have an offensive line that is not consistently winning at the point of attack, allowing you to run with your running backs. And your best and most dynamic playmaker is your quarterback, where he's at his best when he's just kind of playground footballing it.
Yeah.
Like, piecing that all together is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think we're still finding our offensive identity, and the option's been good. The vertical passing game's been better,
much better. People people forget how horrific it was a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's almost we're better when we are throwing it down the field versus trying to do everything short.
Right.
So I don't know. I think we. Just getting a few explosive plays changes the way I think about our offense. The fact that we've done it now, I go, man, like makes it a lot easier. Like people are going to play us maybe tight, and that's what happens. Is basically then you get to bust a few on them.
I mean, I should have done the math, but like, I mean, the lion's share of Nebraska's yards came on the 71-yard run and the 268-yard touchdown passes. Yeah. Like you have three enormous chunk plays, and other than that, it was a lot of banging your head into the wall, And so I just, the finding a way to run the ball with the running backs is something that is just, I don't know what that's really going to look like moving forward. What I was going to ask you, they've talked about wanting to find a bell cow and like hand it off to a dude. I mean, now we're 3 games in, and it's been between Stepp, Irvin, and Morrison. It's been, they're all getting in between like 7 and 10 carries. Yeah. Like, is that are they just going to continue that, or
they're going to continue it? I think there's some stuff that's going to be based on packages, but I do think it's going to be like, they're going to rotate till somebody steps up.
Right.
I think Irvin is the guy they want.
And I think Irvin's the guy they want. There's a reason he got the start at Illinois and even at Fordham, or maybe Stepp started against Fordham. But that shows you what he did over the course of a long period of time of practice. He earned the job. I think it's also, I always wonder how much coaches want the 2 touchdowns at the doorstep.
They gave him
to Gabe Irvin.
I think that's a confidence thing, though, for Irvin.
I do too.
We got to get him in. I love that move because my thought was like, when we got in the one, I go, they need to get Irvin in the end zone.
Totally agree. Those are the little things I was like, I was glad that those 2 touchdowns went to Irvin. If you want it to be him, which I do agree with you, I think they want it to be him.
Yeah, they kind of need him. He's smooth. I like him. He's
like
a
him more
smooth
than
operator.
Step. I just do.
He's
I
smooth.
prefer Irvin over Step, but I don't think any guy is electric right now.
Yeah, I think they all need to anymore. Like you got 2 to 3 running backs that always kind of contribute. So they need all 3 right now. But they need one to really step up.
Totally
and it's
agree.
got to probably be Irvin. As of right now, he seems like the guy.
Anything else with the offense?
Between, like you said, Vokalek, Allen,
Martin,
Omar Manning,
Betts.
Martin, and Betts. We got 5 guys that I hope most of or all of them are back because we got Oklahoma.
Yes. I mean, it's that's when we get to concerns, that's going to be on one of them, is just the weaponry being a little shaky at this point. I wanted to talk about special teams. You already went into it. I mean, Culp, we got a code red potentially with Connor Culp.
He needs to get his clothes to the dry cleaning. He needs a hot shower.
Maybe he needs some yacht rock. Him and Cam Taylor-Britt need to carpool to the game.
He needs to go to like a Zen.
Rancho Relaxo.
Yeah, let's get him to Rancho Relaxo.
Where Marge went.
What were we working on with Juergens last year? Wearing women's underwear?
Oh yeah.
Or wear a garter belt under his.
Right. Yeah, dude. The whole
he
needs something.
He needs to just be. His mind needs to be somewhere besides don't miss.
Because man.
Well, and you know what? Actually, I was watching on. I watched because I wanted to watch a couple of those plays that I missed. And his field goal might have been good. He might have made that.
Which one?
His last kick.
Okay.
So it went like right over the upright.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell.
It was like in and then went over.
Okay.
And then it was like it finished to the.
So it was close, maybe?
It might have went over the top, which isn't that good.
I don't know.
Here's how I judge it, right?
He didn't. That
slow-mo of it going over, the people in North Stadium, there was a handful of them that went good.
Right.
And Connor Culp went like very casually, like, yep, that's in.
He was at the bus station.
And he's like, I got to ride home. No, I don't, And then, but then he was surprised. He was very surprised. I got to ride. I don't. He was poor Connor
So
Culp.
stupid. But Colt, man, I don't know. I mean, yacht rock. Don't take the bus. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's not good, man. I mean,
it's a rough weekend to be Connor Culp.
Man, dude needs something. I don't know.
He's sitting at the bar.
He's just like, he's legal forward pass. And I went out there and they said, kick it, Connor. And I was like, all right.
It's like, why couldn't they just score the touchdown?
Score a touchdown. I'll make the extra point unless it said Illinois.
Yeah, I'm Connor Culp.
Who's asking?
What do you want to know? Who cares, huh? It's just a game anyway.
Laces out. Ray Finkel over here.
Yeah, they don't see all the work kickers do, and they just get all the blame. And
Culp's on a one-way ticket to Ray Finkelville.
God.
I mean, come on, brother.
It just sucks is you can't, in regular football, even Cam Taylor-Britt's like you drop a punt, it's like you go hit some. You're like, you play, you get to hit somebody, you get to play. Like Connor Culp kicks field goals and he has to go sit over there and go like
kick into the net.
Yeah, and it's like I gotta wait until the next kick to kick one. You don't get to like be out there
and release your.
The greatest thing, like people always ask me, like, did football make you nervous? And I'd be like when you're out there playing. I always thought being tired was like, I never had a nerve if I was tired. I'd just be like, I'm too tired to be nervous.
Right.
So I'd never be nervous because you're like, oh God, this is never nervous. But like if you said, Bo,
you got to go think and sit.
That's why golf's so hard. It's like, okay, the putt that's this long, if you think about it for an hour and then have to putt it, it's hard.
Yes. If
you're like exhausted, you got to walk up and putt. It's an easier putt.
That's why it's all here, and that's what's concerning. It's
just
like
putt it
again. That's why that illegal forward pass was sneaky a disaster. Just because it added more to the. Again, it was the end of the day bus stop thing. But Colt,
Oh man,
he needs to not go to Ray Finkelville. But and then real quick, I think you're with me. The Cam Taylor-Britt, that's on Cam to yell Peter, because your decision,
you got to be screaming like
because he tried to fair catch it.
His thought was, I got to catch the ball,
right?
Because he's thinking, I got to catch the ball,
right?
Instead of being like, where am I at?
It's
the right
far,
move is
right.
Peter, let it bounce,
right?
That's just like I said, that's a pressing thing. That's all it is. I'm telling you, like, and Frost called out at the press conference. He's like, he said, you got to call Peter there. He goes, we got to coach him up better
and we got to train him better than we already have, him or whatever it is. But
it's a guy that's still pressing.
I just don't know what that. They're still doing the rotating thing. Toure went back there a couple of times, which I think adds to I think that is like. That's pouring gas on the Cam wanting to make I feel like the more he would go out there, the more he would maybe calm down a little bit.
Sure. I mean, Nick, but the guy's done it before. It's like the issue has become
at what point
this butterfly effect thing, like we talked about, like the unintended, like
I think in some ways everything, like the first play, his safety,
Nick, that play,
I think it set the tone that Cam is still in a funk that he can't get out of. And I think in some ways it's set a tone. It's kind of set a tone for the season a little bit. I
mean, Nick,
I really think if that play is different, I'm not so sure. I don't want to go too crazy like Uncle Rico. It's like, I think they beat Illinois. They're 3-0.
You know they do.
I really think everything goes back to that play.
Here's the thing. It's like, and this is the part where if you're not a Nebraska fan, you have no sympathy for this type of thinking.
No.
Okay, the type of thinking I'm going to do here. But the luck, it's bad luck that his first punt return that he was going to try to catch goes down to the 1-inch yard line. Like, it sucks that's the opportunity that like, if he doesn't have to do that, even we're not in that situation, right? And then the concept, but like the reality is it did happen and he didn't do it right. But like, I hate that, like, all like the next one like bounced weird at him, and then this one was like his guys got blocked. Like, that doesn't happen that much, Nick.
Right?
But like, he's had three punt returns in 3 terrible kind of situations in 3 games.
Right?
And that's life. You got to do better.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately on him, but it's also
like as a Nebraska fan, you go like,
can this dude just get one of those easy, like
an easy return?
An easy one, because he's been back there and he can't even like.
He hasn't had one easy return.
No, just give him one that's one of those just a kick right to him. He's got a little room. Just to get some confidence. This is where, because even when he caught one, there was that sarcastic cheer from Memorial Stadium.
But that's where it's like,
it was like,
I know this is bad thinking.
Whitesnake.
Yeah, maybe he's been listening to Whitesnake, and that's the problem.
I think I'm telling you, Yacht Rock is the answer. But it'll be interesting now because Frost keeps throwing him out there, and I mean,
we were surprised after the second game.
I know. I mean, he keeps on throwing him out there, and it just, you go against good teams and muff a punt. Like, that feels like, I wonder how many they do like your record when you get a punt blocked or whatever. Like, I wonder what your record is when you muff a punt, especially it's probably pretty bad, because usually if you muff a punt, it's you're likely giving the other team great field position. But I'll be interested to see. Now, a lot of it is, Martin was one of the guys that first went out there. He's hurt. Brody Belt had his one play against Fordham where he muffed one and went out of bounds. So
Nick, the alternatives right now aren't great. So, I mean, the one thing with Cam is like, they trust Cam more than a lot of people back there.
And I do think there's something to, he's the one guy that can make a play.
He's their best player. I mean, at some point, if you say we don't trust our best player, like I was like,
they're in a weird spot with him because I feel like I think all of Cam's confidence is stemming from punt returner right now. And I think because that's not going well, everything's kind of not going well for him.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that. I don't know enough about, I'm sure if we could come down here with Chins and watch the game and he would tell me, oh, great play. Cam did great.
I think Cam's doing fine.
I don't think Cam's necessarily out there looking like, horrific, but like he's gotten beat a couple times and I don't think he's played great. But so I think they're in this weird spot where like, I feel like if they yank him from punt returner,
it's just a bad look.
It's a bad look for them. It's a bad look for him. I don't know. It's a weird situation.
I actually would give him credit. Like I was thinking that he wasn't going to be back there after the second game, and they're sticking with him. Like to me, like if you're saying like, hey, we show trust and we're backing our guys, and he's one of their guys. Like they're backing him. Now it's his job. Like at some point, you got to make like.
I do wonder if Martin. I wonder if Martin were healthy, if that would have been different.
I think he would still be back there.
Yeah, they're
and if I think they're going to put him out there again
with the ship here a little bit.
They're gonna put him back there again, and I think he's now on the like.
Tell you what, Frost has shown as a coach, like whether it's Juergens in the high snaps, Cam Taylor-Britt in the punt returner, like if he believes in you, he's gonna ride with you through the face palms.
But if he had Ohio State's roster, that would not be the
option.
Case.
You're only as loyal as your options.
You're as loyal as your options, and I respect that he's being loyal.
Right.
Even though he's taking criticism for being loyal. So he's doing it despite what others want, which is that shows true loyalty. But is it also don't have to do that if you got an All-American?
Chris Olave, you got
you want Olave or do you want the other wide receiver All-American back there? Take your pick. If you can't catch it, he will. Like right now, it's like with Cam Taylor-Britt. Then we got
Brody Belt, or
but like Brody might not be like I don't know.
Like, what's your name? It's like Mark Muff. Yeah. Like Muff, get out there. Show me what you got.
Clark coughs up a lot. Like, your name's Clark. Coughs it up a lot. Mark Muff. Clark coughs it up a lot.
What's your name? Terry Turnover.
Terry Turnover. Frankie Fumble? What? These are my other options, or Cam Taylor-Britt. I'm going to go with Cam Taylor-Britt. Mark Muff. Mark Muff.
You have Mark Muff, Terry Turnover, Frankie Fumbles, and Clark comes it up. I mean, what would you do if you were looking and those were your options? You're looking at Mark Muff.
Should we go with Muff?
What do you guys think?
Muff? Are we going with Muff?
Terry Turnover had a decent day in practice today.
Terry Turnover had a lot of reps today. I don't know. What do you guys think? This is the hardest special teams meeting I've ever been in. Somebody's got to make the call. Oh, man. Mark Muff.
I don't know which name I like the most.
Mark Muff.
Mark Muff. Oh, my God. Okay. So, finally they punned him deep a couple times, which me being a punt lover, I was excited about.
When they pinned it on the one, Nick,
did you think of me?
I turned to the people I was with. I go, Nick will love this.
Oh, your favorite play was that Hendrick time up the snap, get in there. I loved the down and at the one. That was fantastic.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay. All right. Hammer through some of these concerns because I got a nice little play on words at the end of this thing. Concerns through 3 games. We've already been over just to run game, O-line.
Yeah.
Special teams, punt returner, Culp. I wrote down Cam Taylor-Britt. I just think he's got to get going. What are you still having about Mark Muff and Terry Turnover and Clark comes it up a lot?
And Culp.
Frankie Fum.
And every time I think of Connor Culp getting splashed on the side of the road, I want to laugh.
That's what that play was. He had a horrible day. Holding a briefcase. For some reason, he took a briefcase to the game. He's in a suit, tie loose, and just got crushed. Oh, my God. Injuries to the weapons. And then this team still, I don't know, people haven't thought of this. This team still cheddar bobs themselves way too much.
Cheddar Bob.
They do cheddar bob themselves way too much. Cheddar Bob shoots himself with his own gun.
Cheddar Bob shoots himself
with his own gun. I did get jumped by all 6 of you punks.
That's a great.
Wayne did, my girl, but I'm still standing here screaming.
We kind of are though. We shoot.
They're cheddar bob right now. If Nebraska's team was a character from any movie, it would be cheddar bob.
Yeah, they're cheddar bobs.
They're cheddar bobbing it too much. Got to quit shooting themselves in the foot.
That's a great
one. Things I feel good about: Martinez, the defense, in particular linebackers, and then Toure. I mean, Toure is balling. Can we give some quick thoughts on next week real quick as we wrap this thing up?
God, yeah. I mean, it's on, Nick. It's the week, man.
Oklahoma, Nebraska. Can I start with this? Let me preface this real quick, though, with I think Nebraska's going to lose. I think there's a chance it gets not good. But at the same time, is there a chance Big 12 football's a little weak? Like Iowa dominated Iowa State. Texas got rocked by Arkansas. Maryland kind of controlled West Virginia in week 1. For instance, nobody in the Big 10 is as bad as Kansas is.
Yeah.
Big 12 has developed a little bit of a reputation of being a little bit of a softer league. Is there? I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, it was like Oklahoma did have a tough time with Tulane. They murdered Western Carolina, I think, yesterday. Yeah. But I don't. It's a little bit of a softer finesse conference. Like I'd feel way worse. Would you rather play Oklahoma or Georgia? Like I think I'd be more afraid to play Georgia.
I think right now playing an SEC team would be. Well, yeah, I think that's way worse.
I just think the teams that are super just physical.
Yeah. Here's the reality is.
I really tried to be glass half full with.
That's that. But
I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, like you said you don't think we're going to win. That's probably, I mean, that's realistic. This team's more talented than us.
Yeah.
If we want to get in a track meet, they're going to win.
Yeah.
If we can assert physical nature to this game if we can impose a little bit of will to them and muck up the game, I think we almost make it slow and ugly.
I think that's what's going to be interesting to see how, because that's not necessarily how Frost wants to coach, but if this game, what's the number that if this game, I just don't know if I don't think Nebraska can win a game above 35.
No. I mean, we score 20 to 30 points a game.
That's like if this game gets in the 30s, Nebraska's like if this game gets to be above 30, Nebraska's in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, if Adrian plays out of his mind, anything can happen. That's absolutely true. Like if we have a great game plan, we're physical and Adrian is on the mark,
right?
We'll be okay. Like good things will happen. Now, how our defense responds to an elite quarterback and a lot of talent, that's almost like our offense. I mean, it's hard to expect a lot out of our offense.
It's hard to expect that they're going to go out there and going to pound Irvin and get a bunch of.
Fordham and Buffalo and Illinois made our offense really have to work for a half or 3 quarters. Really, it wasn't easy. Why would it be easier against Oklahoma?
It's not going to be.
Yeah. Now, the difference is our defense versus their offense. Got a veteran secondary. Everybody else is, playing pretty good. Nobody's crazy elite compared to Oklahoma, but we should match up okay.
I think defensively, again, this is what's hard. You can make a case this is going to be the best offense they play all year by a mile. But I'm trying to characterize exactly how I feel. I don't necessarily feel like Nebraska's defense is going to go effing stone them, but I think they're going to hang in there.
I think this is the game. Like we've been talking about the secondary being the strength of this team, the secondary being veterans. This is the game. I mean, last year against Ohio State, the secondary didn't have a good day.
No.
This is the game. The secondary I think it's going to win or lose the game for us. So I think we know what we got from the front seven. We don't get a lot of sacks. We're pretty solid against the run, tackle well. Can this secondary match up with these receivers? Can they break up some passes, get some turnovers, not give up big plays? Those 3 things, we're going to look all right.
And the other thing, the offense has to now, obviously, ideally, every possession ends in points, but you need to this needs to be a day where the offense, at least they can't have very many 3 and outs. They got to sustain some, even if they don't result in points. Like they need to have some possessions that are 2 first downs and you eat 5 minutes off the clock. Like,
oh, Nick, I have a philosophy. If you're a finesse team and they're a physical team and they're better than you, make it a track meet.
Right.
If they're a finesse team and you're a finesse or physical, doesn't matter, and they're better than you, you muck it up and you slow the game down so much. So in my opinion, they're finesse and they're better than us. So our one choice is muck it up, slow it down. You hold the clock. You want to basically run the clock out all game long and control the ball, try to get some points on the board and get it to the fourth quarter. That's your goal.
That's it.
All you're trying to do. And that has to be a collective mindset.
Totally agree. Like, sometimes you do have to embrace. No one likes to, like, as a player, you never want to go into a game feeling like, man, we can just go toe to toe. Like, everyone wants to feel like that, right? But there are certain times, I mean, you can maybe even speak to this when you guys went to USC your junior year.
Yeah.
Like, you guys kind of went there and it was clear you guys were trying to, like,
ground and pound
and, like, you know, which is what you needed to do. There are times as an athlete, like, you want to be confident, but you also need to look in the mirror and see reality.
Yeah.
They need to understand, like, we can't go just toe to toe with them and go play for play and think we're going to win a track meet. So you got to embrace that. And to your point, muck it up, slow it down, make it an uncomfortable game.
Yeah,
as much as you can.
It was like Illinois and Minnesota did that to us.
Yes.
I mean, what Minnesota did to us last year.
That was like extreme. I mean, they literally never snapped the ball with more than like one or two seconds on the play clock.
But it's almost like it sets a tone for the game. It almost makes the other team uncomfortable with how slow the game goes. And you impose your will by doing that. It makes the other team's energy change. It just, like, it throws off their rhythm. Like, if they're going fast and making plays, they feel good. If they all of a sudden have to sit over there for a while and then they get a couple 3-and-outs, then they're just like, man, maybe we should try something that we don't, gets them out of their game. Like, you got to get them out of their game, and you got to, as a team, go like, look, this is our strategy. We're just sticking to the strategy, and we're going to get to the fourth quarter.
Let me play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line on doing what gives you the best chance to win versus doing what you're built to do? Does that make sense? Like, if you're
do what gets you the chance to, like, I'm a believer in play the game to win. Like, you're winning, whatever you got to do to win. You do.
What if deep down inside, as a coach, it doesn't matter what we do, we're probably not winning the game.
You do the thing that gives you the best chance to win it.
Right. Okay.
So to me, this is a game that's a strat. Like, the strategy is that. Like, I would say this
your defense is clearly shown they can. Now, again, it's Fordham and Buffalo, but they've. I mean, like, I get it. Like, those numbers are what they are. They have not. This is the first time Nebraska in back-to-back games has held their opponent to a touchdown and a field goal since 2003.
Yeah.
So, like, that's reality. Like, they have shown that they're decent. Like, I think you got to lean on them. You got to lean on Martinez, and you got to slow the game down. But I guess my question, may be poorly phrased, like, I think you know what I'm getting at. Like,
you go, what's our identity?
And is Nebraska good at, like, are you taking an offense that's already not very good and then making them play not to their strengths even more by slowing them down? Does that make sense? I don't
think of it as like you can't do some of the things you do well. I just think it's like the way you go about it, which is like, Nick, we've never milked the clock to 1 second. And we've never been like, it's grinding out, like, slow it down, field position. Like, that's where you punt the ball instead of going for that fourth down on, like, just cross the 50. Maybe you're like, let's go. I say, no, you punt it. Like, you're way more apt to punt. You're way more apt for field position, but it's all about clock management and slowing it down. Like, you got to make them uncomfortable with how slow the game is.
And I would do what Frank Solich did the week of the Oklahoma game, preparing for it in 2001. Crouch told a great story on my podcast where when they came in for meetings the week of the Oklahoma game in 2001, Frank Solich played a highlight tape of all the trick plays in the history of this rivalry that have proven to be enormously important.
Yeah.
We just did Husker Classic Recaps 2001 Nebraska, Oklahoma. You have Black 41 flash reverse pass. The other thing that I would do if I were Frost, because something you haven't seen a lot in Frost's tenure, I can think of one, like you had the one trick play where McCaffrey threw the ball to Spielman against Iowa in 2019. Other than that, they've not ran very many trick plays. No, you're probably going to have to go in your bag of trick plays here. Maybe you disagree, but I think when you think of the history of this rivalry, the nature of this offense's inept weaponry to be able to make explosive plays outside of Toure and Martinez, I don't know. I think dialing up some sort of reverse pass, something, halfback pass, something.
Oh, they'll have some tricks up their sleeves. And I think this is the game that we've been pretty vanilla in terms of, just running more of our base stuff. I think this is the game, like, Nick, if there are tricks and they're going to pull them out.
Baby.
I mean, they haven't tried to be flashed to this point, but I think you got to sell out. I mean, if there's a game you're going to run Adrian a lot, this is it. I mean, like, this is the stuff where, like, this changes your program.
You win this game.
You win it.
You win this game. It's a season changer. It's a potentially tenure at Nebraska changer for Frost. Like, a lot changes if you go win this game.
Well, if you remember, we were at Ohio State. Urban Meyer's the coach. We were in a good position to win that game 4 years ago. We didn't get it done. Didn't Spielman drop a touchdown going in?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
and Martinez turned it over, I think, at like the 10.
Yeah, I mean, it was
a backwards pass that maybe there was something as they were gonna get points.
Yeah,
that
was our only other chance where we were really in one for a program changing win. We didn't, but this could be this is the chance really this year. It's that in Ohio State is really a program changing win.
How do you think the pressure is? What do you think the pressure is?
They should have no pressure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the 50th anniversary of the game of the century. Like, that's added to there. But Nebraska should be going in this game going, there's no pressure, right? What's the pressure?
Like, in a weird way, this sounds weird. I mean, I got to think if I even believe this before I say it. Like, it's a bigger game, and because the nature of a bigger game playing a higher profile opponent, that raises the butterflies a little bit. But, like, you could argue that this team felt more pressure yesterday against Buffalo
and
Illinois than they feel in this game. Because it's one thing. It's one thing to do something when no one expects you to do it versus to do something when everyone expects you to do it. And if you don't do it, they're going to crush you for it. And this game's just the pressure dynamic is interesting. And I think in some ways, Frost hasn't had a bunch of opportunities to motivate and coach and lead from this vantage point where he can play that card of no one, everyone thinks we're going to get killed. Everyone's, like, you can really kind of play those, like, no one believes in us stuff.
I think this is an opportunity, Nick. That's so spot on. Like, we are in a spot where take a swing, play to win, and steal one from these guys, because nobody thinks you can win. Nobody expects you to win. And the pressure has only been like, if Frost doesn't beat these teams he should beat, this program's dead and doomsday. Like, nobody thinks you're going to win. They've been writing this as an L for 2 years now.
No doubt.
So, like, it's almost a relief, I think. You get to go be on the big stage, play against a great team, and nobody thinks you're going to do anything.
And these are the games too. Also, like, these are the games you live for as a player. Like, you are so much more. I mean, we talk about the pressure, but, like, you're so much more excited for this game than you are Buffalo and Fordham. And you're just.
Well, and this is, like I said, and the other part is, like, it's one thing to play in these games when you're like top 10 and they're top 10. Then it's the pressure's still,
it's a different kind.
It's a different kind of pressure. Then, like, right now, it's there'll be butterflies because it's a good team and it's a big atmosphere, but the pressure's on Oklahoma.
So we'll see. I mean, because the bottom line is if you're trying to look for things you can be confident in, you got a quarterback that's a 4-year starter that's played arguably his best football the last 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got an experienced defense that should feel good about how they've played the past 6 quarters, haven't given up a touchdown in 6 quarters. Like when you go on the road, those are 2 things you probably need to be portable and you need to lean on. You better have a quarterback that's ready to ball out. I think Adrian's ready to play well, and you better have a defense that is at least somewhat suited to handle what's going to get thrown at you. And so I don't know. I mean, again, I say all that, and I said at the start of this, like, I think there's a better chance that this thing gets out of hand. But,
probably right. Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? Who
if
knows?
If somebody would walk here and say, you guys have no chance to win, I'd be like, I would argue that to my death. Like there's a chance. There's always a chance. If you're like a team even to our level, there's always a chance. I mean, I just watched Arkansas beat the crap out of Texas last night.
And I mean, Tulane went to Norman, Oklahoma 2 weeks ago and had the ball driving and could have won the game. Like everybody, this isn't like if Nebraska was going to Tuscaloosa, now that's closer to you got no chance.
I would. Yeah, it's close to the 99% to 1%. Where this is more like it's 90 to 10.
Yeah, like again, I think you and I are realistic. We're like, we both think Oklahoma's going to win this game.
Yeah, but there's a 10% chance. You play it 10 times, we win once.
But this needs to be.
You have to play Alabama 100 times to get the one.
Probably. Right, totally agree. But this game's going to be a lot in how it's managed, how it's called to give yourself a chance to be in there, and we'll see. I mean,
we need some breaks. Those penalties and the things that we need them to go our way. We need the other ones to go their way. We need when the ball bounces, it doesn't bounce and hit.
When the ball gets tipped in the air,
we need some things to just not like when the punt goes, it doesn't carry to the 1 inch. It just goes all the way to the end zone. A foot here, a ball bounce there versus there. We need those things to go our way.
Yes. I mean, whenever you're trying to, in an upset like this, you need all the breaks.
Yeah. And if they don't go our way, we'll blame it on the curse.
There you go. We can blame it on the Frank Solich curse.
Does that work?
But, okay. I mean, we feel good about it. Anything we've talked about? Yacht Rock, Frank Fumble, Mark Muff. I mean, we got
Clark coughs it up and
Terry turnover. We'll see who trots back there against Oklahoma. I hope it's Mark Muff.
That was a tough special teams meeting, though.
It was tough to figure out who you want.
Who are they going to pick?
Taylor-Britt, just turnover galore. You got your stable of guys you're choosing from. It's not good. It's not good. All right. Well, man, week from today, we'll be recapping this bad boy.
Maybe we'll be talking about the game of the century. 2006.
Hold on. Do we make an agreement? If Nebraska wins, do we booze? For the recap,
we're gonna party like it's 1999,
like it's 1971,
like it's 19.
We're gonna party like it's 1971,
which means that we'll go out and
smoke cigarettes,
drink tap beer because they didn't have
bars. Only had like
you could get a shot, but there was literally they just didn't have all the food drinks. Everybody drank beer at the bar. They said.
So we'll go. Would that be a beer pod?
It maybe be a beer pod.
I mean, I'm down for that.
Party like it's 1971.
Party like it's 1971, baby. Okay. This was great.
All right.
This was good.
Let's just catch this next bus here.
Okay. No.